Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, we love you. In Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. On a beautiful July the 12th, 2019, Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, it's hot down here, man. I feel like a duck roasting in the oven. It's so hot outside. But it hasn't stopped the world of sports. I mean, we got the baseball bats back in full swing.
Yep.
We got everyone swiping the tennis rackets across the pond over in England.
Yep.
And the NBA trade deadline is just heating up.
Yeah, it's just heating up. I don't know if it's as hot as that roasted duck in the oven, Big C, but I love your vernacular, the way you guys love to play with animals before you eat them, Big C, no pun intended. I do want to say what a beautiful day in the sports universe, being around Southern California, seeing the ESPYs, and just thinking of Coach Bob Mendez at Prospect High School. If anyone has any aches and pains, and you're worried about things hurting on your body or being tired, here's a man that coaches high school football. He has no arms, so he can't scratch himself. If he has an itch, he can't scratch it. He has no legs, so he can't even walk. He's tied to a wheelchair, but his spirit is bigger than the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it shows the will of mankind when adversity is put in front of you. Coach Mendez would be an inspiration to anybody who feels that they're going through adversity in life. All you have to look is at this man who is totally dependent on his chair and others for survival, Charlton. He doesn't complain. He goes through life every day, and he's appreciative of what he has.
Yeah, I just thought that I tie that to the great Valvano, don't give up, don't ever give up. Every day we have a choice. And I think the great Morgan Freeman said it best in a movie, and I'm forgetting the name of the movie, but it was about him being in prison with a friend of his, and he said,
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption. He said, get busy living or get busy dying. We got to choose. I want to get busy living. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I'm still out on vacation in this abbreviated Big C Sports Show, but happy Friday to everyone in the sports universe. Big C is really happy, but sometimes people think if you're rich that you have no problems. If you have enough money, you have no problem. In fact, some people say, in the words of a law vernacular, some dumb lawyers, they'll say, so if you weren't going to get any money, would you be here? Ask that same lawyer, if you weren't being paid, would you be here? Chris Paul and Westbrook, they're like an X on the map. They're crossing paths. Chris Paul, obviously, being in that trade from Houston to OKC, and then you have Westbrook being able to go to Houston and supposedly play with a guy he likes more in Harden. But will Chris Paul even be in OKC long enough to see the hot August nights? They're talking about shipping him down to Miami. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if this trade will be there long with Chris Paul being in OKC. You know, you have to make salaries match up. We talked about that a couple days ago. There's salary cap implications with all this movement in free agency and trades that go on in the NBA. Russell Westbrook had a contract that Chris Paul could match in a trade.
Yeah.
And Russell was the one deeming, they said, wanted to trade, that he wanted to go back and play with James Harden. Now, this is going to be an interesting trade of all the moves in the NBA this offseason.
Yeah.
When you think about two players who demand having the ball in their hand.
Yep.
I understand that, Westbrook deferred some to Paul George in OKC, but you got to defer a lot to James Harden. James Harden likes to hold the ball to the last 2 seconds on the shot clock before he gives it up.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting. These players played together some 5-6 years ago in OKC.
Yeah.
Harden was a six-man. In Harden's last year in OKC, Russell Westbrook missed more shots than James Harden took.
Yeah.
So the tale has been changed that James Harden is the consummate shooter now, even though Westbrook averaged a triple-double. Now, on the flip side, when we look at Chris Paul, it's hard to say that Chris Paul is going to be in OKC because you're going to bring the oldest player on the team in a trade via trade, Charlton.
Yep.
And you're building a team through the draft, basically. I see him, realistically, my thoughts today, when I look at contract fits, Miami doesn't have anybody that can train to fit with OKC and Chris Paul's contract.
Yeah.
The player that I look right now, Charlton, being the most liable to move, and this will blow everybody away, would be Simmons up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
When you look at their contracts, they're quite similar. They just signed into a big contract extension, Charlton. So the salary cap here is basically the same if they move it.
Yeah.
And when you look at Philadelphia and the style of game that Ben Simmons plays, he's an inside player. He's a 6'10" point guard without a jump shot.
Yeah.
What did they just do? They just signed Al Horford and a couple other big men,
That's
Charlton.
right, they did.
So the paint is clogged up in Philadelphia, which is the best place for Ben Simmons to operate. Chris Paul would be a natural being there in Philadelphia, Charlton. They lost a couple of shooters already. J.J. Redick, they lost him. They lost Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
So they don't have an outside shot. Chris Paul can still knock down the jumper. He can still get you 17 to 20 points a game with the jump shot, Charlton. And he's a great passer. And you got all of these big men. And you look at Ben Simmons, and OKC right now has a dozen first-round draft picks over the next 8 years.
Yeah.
They can't sign all those players.
No, they
can't.
got
4 number 1 draft picks next year, Charlton. They can't sign all those players. So you package up a couple of those number 1 draft picks. We know that Philadelphia's always talked about building through the process. You ship those draft picks along with Chris Paul to Philadelphia. I think it's a win-win for everybody in that because everybody gets something that they need out of this trade.
Big C, what would it take? I mean, it's one thing to say, yes, I agree because you want the money. And you know that if you're Westbrook, you do have a better chance of advancing in the playoffs if you're with Houston, more so than if you're with OKC since Paul George left. But it's a big sales job. Who's the bigger sales job, Big C? Is it Houston to convince Westbrook that he's not going to shoot the ball more than anybody else on the team to be the number 2 guard? Or is it a bigger sell by Westbrook saying, I'm willing to change stripes like a leopard, Big C, this late in my career? Your thoughts?
Well, I think Houston is going to be this bigger benefactor, and I think the player that will benefit the most will be Quinn Capella.
Yeah.
When you got 2 outstanding guards on your team, Charlton, the center normally benefits from that. Because you have guys that can get to the rim on the dribble.
Yeah.
Now, you fall off on one of these guards going to the rim, you got Quinn Capella there for the cleanup. All you got to do is lob the ball to him.
Yep.
Quinn Capella could be an all-star this year playing with James Harden and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
You think about that. Anytime you got 2 great guards, I mean, now you're looking at a situation that Golden State had with the Splash Brothers.
Yes.
You got 2 outstanding guards. Who do you try to shut down, Charlton? Because both of those guys are devastating shots from the outside, so they can knock it down on you. When you look at what's going on in the West, and you're talking about backcourts right now, you got to look at Portland and you got to look at Houston as far as having the top backcourts. When you look at the Lakers, you look at the Clippers, these are teams that have built the front court. They don't have anybody in the backcourt to play with those 2 players. So, they got big men running up and down the floor. And so we've seen in the Western Conference over the past couple of years the rapid pace that it plays with. It's been up-tempo basketball. Now, Houston has solidified that they're going to be an up-tempo team this year, and Quinn Capella at center runs better than any center in the Western Conference.
Do you think, well, I want to get your opinion because you talked about Lillard up in Portland, and you also think about what you have in L.A. You have Kawhi down in L.A. as well. You have people kind of forgot about Denver, but where would you rank Houston? Because this team has been knocking on the door. Like Bum Phillips said, we knock on the door, we knock on the door. Next year, we're going to kick the SOB in. They never kicked it in for the Oilers. But Houston Rockets have been in that same position, just like Bum Phillips was with Pastorini back in the day. Where would you rank Houston now, based on what you see so far, as one of the top 4 in the West?
I think Houston became the second best team in the West with this trade. I like Denver being the best team in the West.
Really?
Because this is a team that didn't hurt itself in free agency. They didn't lose anybody.
Yeah.
They actually got a little bit better than what they were, and they had the second best record in the West last year behind the Warriors. We know that the Warriors is going to be a 5 or 6 seed at best in this upcoming season.
Yeah.
I look at Houston now being a solidified number 2. They have a dominant backcourt. Their backcourt just got better than what Portland had. Portland had the best backcourt last week. Now Houston has the best backcourt. But the difference is Houston has a center that can run, who is mobile, who can get up and down the floor, who does not mind playing in the paint or playing defense, who is really going to help his game grow with those two great guards this year.
That's incredible, and I think also, I really do believe this will lengthen Russell Westbrook's career, because we know he has some type of motor that nobody has in the NBA. Maybe Giannis, but I doubt it. I think he has the biggest motor, Westbrook. But I think by having Harden with the ball in his hands, it's going to keep him more fresh, Big C. And I want to get your feeling if that helps Westbrook stay more fresh, which will ultimately is going to help Houston. And I think a number 2 seed is pretty high, but I know you're high on both players especially. But do you think that adds maybe another season or two to his career, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, with his work ethic, Charlton, nothing's going to add to it. Nothing's going to take away from it. It's up to Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
He's going to handle the ball. James Harden is really not a guy who's going to push the ball.
Right.
He will bring the ball up. He's more of a setup offensive type of guard. Russell Westbrook is a runner.
Yeah.
This is and he's the type of player that D'Antonio is used to having. When you think about D'Antonio's career as a coach when he was in Phoenix, they were the highest scoring team in the NBA because he plays that up-tempo type of basketball.
Yeah.
When you look at the players that he has on his roster, he has the lean players. He doesn't have the players that are sluggish running up and down the floor. Russell Westbrook brings Mike D'Antonio back to what he used to be. His experiment failed with the Lakers because he didn't have up-tempo players. Kobe was long in his career, so he could not play that breakneck style of basketball.
Yes.
Chris Paul has gotten that way. A 35-year-old point guard is not going to push a ball up and down the court every night. But you bring in Westbrook, who's 5 years younger, Charlton, has more of a motor, as you say. He's the hardest working man in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so he is now going to run Mike D'Antonio's offense like Steve Nash did.
Yeah.
He's an upgrade of what a Steve Nash was, and he was a back-to-back MVP as a guard with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, he really is the James Brown in basketball with Russell Westbrook. I do want to say for people just being in Southern California and realizing that a lot of people go through issues, and you see a lot in a city of 20 million people in the LA basin. It could be really like another country when you look at how large Southern California is alone. And it's a national suicide hotline number for people that may be going through issues. You see a lot down here in LA. A national suicide hotline number is 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255. A lot of teenagers, sometimes they go through issues, but they don't want to call, they want to text. You can text 838-255. That's 838-255. I still want to thank my friend from Latin America. Just walked up on the street, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Doing the Big C Sports Show." She said, "Oh, okay, yeah, Big C, okay, Big C." I said, "Yes, can you speak to the Latin American audience?" I don't know what she said, but I hope it was profanity-free. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to be careful. You got to vet the people that you put on air.
Yeah.
You never know what somebody's going to say when you give them a live mic.
Yeah, especially if I don't speak the language. But I think she's pretty clear and pretty clean. But I just want to say it again, thanks her for that. I want to just step also from this talk of NBA basketball. And remember, Big C, when Durant was healthy, and that's before he got hurt in the Houston series of all teams, it's amazing that Durant's no longer with Golden State and Paul is no longer with Houston. And it's both of those players that were blamed, if you can call it blaming, for their two teams not winning a championship. People thought that Houston would knock out Golden State last year if Paul stayed healthy. People thought that Golden State would beat Toronto if Durant stayed healthy. Talk about Silva, what he just said earlier in the week. He thought it was a bad idea for players to have the Kurt Flood experience and have the ability to go where they want to go. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the ability to go where you want to go, Charlton, is created by what the NBA calls salary cap implications.
Yeah.
It's not just free agency. We just saw the move with Westbrook and Paul.
Yeah.
That was about salary cap. You can't move players all the time, Charlton, if the money doesn't work.
Right.
You have to have an equal contract to go someplace. It's like when you look at the Washington Wizards and you have John Wall sitting out there, who is due to make $44 million next year and $47 million the following season.
Why?
You can't move John Wall.
No.
Who wants to eat that contract of a player who's not been healthy in 2 of the last 3 seasons?
Right.
He hasn't finished the season.
Yep.
So this is what the NBA has created. When Adam Silver sits there and says, well, he doesn't like players demanding to go somewhere, teams have no choice, Charlton.
Right.
If you're sitting there eating a contract and your team is not getting any better, you need to find a team that you can make that move with. Players are friends in the NBA. It's not like they're estranged from each other.
Yeah.
And that's what Adam Silver has to understand. That's what the media needs to understand. They say, oh, well, no, he's going to go there and he's going to make this super team. No, he doesn't want to go there because he doesn't want to play with him.
Yeah.
When people say, other players don't want to play with LeBron, well, players that play the same position don't want to play with LeBron.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the same. That's what you got to look at.
Yeah.
If I'm Kawhi Leonard and I'm a forward, why do I want to go compete with another forward? Just playing the same position.
Yeah.
That's what you have to look at. So when players don't fit, by him going to the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard,
right.
Paul George is a swing guard. He's not a forward. He's a swing guard.
Yeah.
And these two players are former defensive players of the year in the NBA.
Yeah.
So these are two players that play great defense and they can play offense, but they offset each other.
Yeah.
But when players say, well, I want to go play with this guy, they've already talked money-wise to get somebody there. It's not just, okay, I want to go play and they're just going to pencil him in. You have to understand the money has to fit from an organizational perspective.
Yeah.
Players just don't demand a trade and get it. You have to match up contracts, Joe.
The Brooklyn Nets trade Big C, Kawhi Leonard, the Eastern Conference is not as sexy now. It was sexy if Durant were healthy for Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving, Durant. But even with that, they don't have a big man. And with the Kyrie and Durant, who's going to want the shot? I mean, it's good to have those 2-on-2, two dominant players on each team. And it seems the NBA is looking for that. They want two superstars instead of back in the days, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, or LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now they're going to have two superstars. But has the Eastern Conference just gotten less interesting? They have an injured Durant. We don't know if he's going to come back 80%, 90%, 60%. And then you still have Giannis, but Kawhi's gone. It seems like Milwaukee's going to be the team that you can almost pencil in, along with Philadelphia, to the Eastern Conference Championship even before the season starts. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that the Eastern Conference lost any luster. I mean, nobody expected the Eastern Conference to win the NBA title this past season.
Yeah.
It was a foregone conclusion that the Warriors were going to win it all.
Right.
The Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors got hot at the right time, and it wasn't just Kawhi.
They got a wounded Warriors too. Yeah.
When they made the trade and brought in the center.
Yeah.
When they brought in Gasol, that's what solidified Toronto. I mean, Kawhi Leonard was already there.
Yeah.
They didn't win the Eastern Conference, but when they brought in Gasol, it stabilized the team.
Yeah.
They had a big man that nobody in the East could counter, because he could play against Embiid, he could play against Lopez in Milwaukee, he could play against Horford in Boston.
Yeah.
So that's what made Toronto win. They brought in another piece. It wasn't just Kawhi Leonard. Yes, he got the Finals MVP. He wasn't the league MVP, though.
Yeah.
Just the Finals MVP. Well, when I look at the East, I mean, Giannis was the league's MVP.
Yeah.
They were within a game of getting to the next round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Milwaukee is still solid. Yes, they lost Middleton, but they'll make up for that, Chalk. They have enough bigs in place to be a challenge for anybody.
Yeah.
And I look at Philadelphia. They're still a solid team. They lost Jimmy Butler, but I still think they're going to bring in Chris Paul and get rid of Simmons. They brought in Horford.
Yeah.
Now you have two big guys that can dominate the paint. Boston. They brought in Kemba Walker, so they're not going to miss Kyrie Irving.
Right.
And they may have a better demeanor of a player that helps solidify it. Gordon Hayward finally has to step up. There's no more excuses for Gordon Hayward. But you got the young players in Rozier and Tatum in Boston. It is now their time to rise back to the top of the Eastern Conference. So the Eastern Conference is healthy.
Yep.
We don't know what Miami's going to do with Butler. We know Indiana with Oladipo, if he comes back healthy, they're going to challenge some people. So the Eastern Conference is strong. There's no worries. Nobody's looking at the New York Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks are still many, many moons away. But congratulations to guys getting their money, getting that Kurt Flood money. I know Kurt Flood was a great baseball player, but everybody who gets paid, thank him because he went out on the limb first, Big C. And I want to just go across the pond because I know a lot of people are really – Europe has really been the mecca of sports over the last month when you've had the World Cup, and congratulations Team USA. And now you have Serena Williams, Federer. They're doing their thing across the pond. I want to focus on Serena Williams. At 37 years young, she can become the oldest, maybe one of the oldest champions in Wimbledon history. She's going to play against Simona Halep, and that's going to be, I'm just predicting that Serena gets this done. She has to stay focused. I don't think she's going to get upset this time. She has some issues behind her from the childbirth last year. But talk about what athletes are doing when they're past 30. Remember back in the day when someone turned 30, they were like, well, give him his walking papers. I give her walking papers. Big C, 37 is the new 27. Your thoughts?
Well, athletics, Charlton, has evolved over the years. The human anatomy has evolved over the years as far as training and take care of your body, the regiment diets.
Yeah.
All of those things have adhered to long careers as professional athletes, regardless of the sport, Charlton. And so when you look at the performance of Serena Williams, even after giving childbirth, to be on the top of the world stage in women's tennis, it is a tremendous feat on her behalf.
Yeah.
I look at Halep, in this. This is her first Grand Slam chance at Wimbledon, Charlton. She's going to be hungry.
Yeah.
She is going to press the issue against Serena Williams. Serena Williams cannot afford to get ahead of herself. I know she's looking for her 24th Grand Slam title.
Yep.
Simona Halep is looking for her first winning a Wimbledon title.
Yeah.
And she's like a caged tiger right now when you look at Halep. She's younger.
Yep.
She's going to be more eager. She's going to press the issues against Serena, and that's what she has to do. She has to be very aggressive.
Yeah.
All matches long, Charlton, because Serena is hoping to cruise through and win her 18th her 8th Grand Slam title at Wimbledon and her 24th overall.
Yeah.
But don't discount Simona Halep, Charlton, because she wants her first also.
Yeah, it's about being in the zone, and I just wish them nothing but the best. I also, when I talk about greatness and Serena Williams, I want to say a happy, very happy, early happy birthday to my beautiful mother, and she'll be celebrating her birthday. I'm not going to say her age, but she's very proud. I'm very thankful to God to have such a wonderful mother, and I just love her dearly, and want to just wish her is happy birthday Eve, but tomorrow another beautiful happy birthday. Thank God for that. I also want to say, going across the pond again, because I look at Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer and what happened today at Wimbledon. It may have been one of the best matches in the history of the tennis universe, Big C. And I mean, I'm not a good tennis player. I played before, but I've been really good in video games, Big C. But when it came to really playing on real tennis surface, I haven't been that good. But Federer's 3-1 versus Nadal at Wimbledon, and 1-9 in other majors. And it was 7-6, and then he lost 6-1. He won 6-3 and 6-4 today over Nadal. Just an amazing tournament, Big C. Give me your feeling on having people who are setting records on the men's and women's side across the pond, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess you would be more realistic if you said you sucked at tennis.
Yeah, well, I was trying to be nice to myself.
Okay. I want to see you try to handle one of those 137-mile-an-hour serves.
Only on video games.
I would be impressed that you're bad at tennis. Okay?
Exactly.
Yep. But, when you think about Federer and Nadal today, Charlton, it was an epic match, and we've seen many epic matches over at Wimbledon this year.
Yes.
Now, Nadal is a hard surface player, whether it's clay or the hard surface. That's when Nadal dominates everybody. He's dominated Federer in the past. Nadal has always had his struggles at Wimbledon on the grass.
Yep.
As it showed today that he's 3-1, 1-3 versus Federer on the grass.
Yeah.
But, when you think about Federer advancing, he and Serena Williams have something in common. They're both 37 years old.
Isn't that amazing?
And if he was by chance beat Novak Djokovic on Sunday, Charlton, this would be the two oldest champs in Wimbledon history on the same weekend on the men's and women's side, Charlton.
Yeah.
Novak Djokovic is no joke when you think about him on the men's, grass surface,
Yeah.
Charlton. He is the most dominant tennis player on grass in the world. It's going to be a classic match with he and Federer. Two hungry veterans, Charlton, looking to hoist that plate once again.
Yeah, 1 and 2. I think for diets, as I listen to more people say what to eat, I have this blender, and I tend to blend a lot of my foods now, and I've actually dropped some pounds. I thought I was in somewhat decent shape, but not as good as I could be. My best shape ever, I had 6% body fat, but that was when I was in my 20s. But I've heard if you blend celery, if you blend watermelon rind, and then apple cider vinegar, and I'm not even being flippant, Big C. I know you'd said put butter on everything. If it doesn't have butter, you don't want to touch it down south, Big C. But I think that the nutritious factor is something that these people can tell us and attest to. And I want to get your thoughts. If apple cider vinegar, watermelon rind, and some of these other things we hear about blending and juicing, like the late Jack LaLanne talked about, if that's something that people are doing now, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I remember Jack LaLanne when I was a young man. I mean, he lived forever. I think he lived to be 96 years old.
Yeah.
And he was a fitness nut. I mean, we all, as young people, watched him on television. He had an exercise show every morning.
Yeah.
I mean, this man was fit, and I believe back then, he might have been in his 50s or so, 60 years old.
Yeah.
But, he was a health nut guru for the United States even before the health craze ever came along.
Yeah.
And I do remember that he always talked about juicing. I think when you look at juicing, Charlton, you're getting the natural supplements out of stuff. I know we're a pill-crazy society.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to take supplements from the layman person to the athletes.
Right.
And try to cheat, the curve. Just let me get it real quick.
Right.
Instantaneous gratification.
Right.
But, you have to take care of your body. It's fine to ingest certain things.
Yes.
But unless you're expending the energy to burn off the carbohydrates and the fat, Charlton, it doesn't make any difference what you take. I know your friend Frank Thomas. We see him on this new Dennis commercial all the time.
Yeah.
Call it the Big Hurt. But they only take a picture of Frank from the chest up.
And he's always in black.
We don't know what's below the chest on Frank. We don't know whether he's got a spare tire or not. So, I mean, there could be a little false advertising on Frank's behalf.
That's funny. Well, okay, people do what they want to do. There's a nip tuck society. It's all over L.A. I mean, you see people that look like they came out of a factory. I'm not, and again, I think all people are beautiful.
Hey, I came out of an ice cream factory the other day. I mean, I was okay.
Okay, but Big C, in L.A., and there's nothing wrong with it, I see women who are sometimes 70 years old, and they look like they're 30 based on the face, okay?
Oh, and so you went and saw the Cher show in Las Vegas.
I'm not telling you where I was.
Cher is in her 70s, and I mean, she got the face complexion of a 27-year-old.
I'm telling you, there's some, okay, that butter thing you came up with, there might be something they do in LA that's not butter. If you think it's butter, but it's not. No, it's nip tuck society. And I don't frown on it, but even for men, there's a lot of people, they can't blink their eyes. But it's just, someone needs to tell people, you've had too much of Dr. Feelgood, but it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I do want to say, what we're going to do is take a quick Big C pause. I love L.A. There was a song, I love L.A. We're going to take a Big C pause, and we're going to come back and just talk about a few other things in the world of baseball. Dodger Blue is crazy, Southern California. We'll take that Big C pause, and we hope you'll come back right with us. All right, we are back on Big C Sports after the Big C pause. You can follow Big C Sports on the #1 podcast network in the history of the universe. That's on iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker. You can follow Big C Sports on YouTube. If you have television at home and you have Xfinity Comcast, you can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity Comcast. If you have that app called Alexa, when you say Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast, you'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear me say, welcome to the show. And then I'll introduce Big C, and he'll do his thing. So I want to thank our sponsors for all their support and the growth we're having with Big C Sports. I also want to say, in the world of baseball, would you believe there are 14 teams, 14, on pace to break the Major League Baseball home run record, 267 this season, led by the Minnesota Twins, who are on a pace to hit 302. And that's one season, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we know that Major League Baseball bought up the Rawlings Baseball Company. And so, the legend is that the ball has less drag, that it has a smoother surface on it. So it allows the ball to carry. And they say that's just from the outside. They didn't tell you what happened on the inside. But, when you think about where baseball is right now, Charlton, you think about the record number of teams in the pennant chase at the All-Star break. That's good for baseball. That means that attendance should be up in the second half of the season. I mean, all professional sports now, Charlton, have understood it's about entertainment. It's not just wins and losses. It's about entertainment. What do the fans come to the ballpark for, Charlton? They come to see the entertainment aspect. Everybody appreciates a great pitcher. But everybody even appreciates more a great hitter, a guy who can drive the ball out of the ballpark. And when we talked about the record length of home runs as well as the record number of home runs, at the All-Star break last year, for the season last year, baseball had 84 home runs that it carried 450 feet. for the entire season, for 162 games.
Yeah.
At the All-Star break, they had already had 100 baseballs.
Yep.
That had traveled 450 feet.
Yep.
So when you think about baseball juicing up its game, I mean, I didn't mean juicing up its game. You know,
like juicing like Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne juice.
Yeah. They have done that. They found a way to keep everybody intrigued about what's going on. Not just on the field, but you got the media talking about the intrigueness of the baseball movement now.
Yeah, and I just want to say because LA teaches you something. It's like get busy living or don't. But there are people who just are physical fitness fanatics, and it doesn't matter to everybody. But all of us want to feel that youth again, so I just want to keep people in mind of and just pay homage to LA. A lot of people doing that down here. Major League Baseball on pace to hit over 6,600 home runs this season. 14 teams are on, Big C, 14 teams are on pace to break the season franchise record. I remember with Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, Sammy Sosa, and all these good old boys were brought in to testify on whether or not they were doing what Jack LaLanne told us about juicing, if that makes any sense to you. You notice there's no players being accused of doing anything wrong this year. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's a change of pace. You know, Ron Manfred is a little different as a commissioner of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
When I look at the leader in home runs right now in baseball in the Major League, Christian Yelich.
Yeah.
You know, since the All-Star game last year and right now, he has hit a league-leading 58 home runs.
Yeah.
That's an astonishing number of home runs, and that's basically an entire season when you look at comparing the two together. But 58 home runs, and he's on pace right now to hit 58 for the season.
Wow.
So, but no one is talking about Christian Yelich potentially juicing himself. It's about a juice baseball.
Yeah.
When you deflect and you keep deflecting, you can take your eye off of really what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, the president does it all the time. He's deflecting from reality.
Yeah.
And baseball has deflected from reality with the baseball.
Hey, Big C, you know how I call you the mystic, and you're not afraid. You said something to me many, many moons ago. You said, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. And, you know, just talking to you about things that have happened in broadcast and in business, I just want to commend you on something, and only you and I would know what I'm talking about. You've said things that were going to happen, and they happen. And there's sometimes people say, how do you know? Well, sometimes it's called, I think people from the South call it mother's wit or intuition or a gut instinct. Your gut instinct can tell you a lot of things that makes you prescient. And a lot of people who do things ahead of other people before they even know about it are very prescient. So I want to congratulate you on that. And also some things that you said right now are coming true. After the All-Star break, you talked about baseball will get more exciting after the All-Star break. And I just want to commend you on that too, because 19 of 30 teams are within 3 games of the playoff race. How did you know that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, it's what the game brings. You have to pay attention sometime. And I mean, teams are making moves. They made moves in the offseason.
Yeah.
There's still moves to be made. The trade deadline is at the end of the month.
Yep.
We're going to see some pitchers and hitters move teams, Charlton.
Yeah.
But right now, when we look at the movement of the baseball, with the record number of home runs,
yeah,
and teams have gotten younger. That's what has made baseball exciting.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the old constituents of the game say, well, you know, they don't have the big name players. No,
yes,
but they got
do.
the big bats.
Yeah.
That's what you look at.
Yeah.
As a fan, you come to a ballpark to see the big bats.
Yeah.
We've seen the big name players get all the money.
Yeah.
But they're not producing.
No.
But it's the young guns now, Charlton, that are knocking the ball all around the ballpark.
Yep.
And that's what's made baseball exciting.
Yeah.
Is that you have young players that are trying to establish themselves and prove themselves. When you look at the top 10 players in each league, Charlton, the majority of them are not making money compared to what those off-season contracts were.
Yeah.
So that's how baseball has changed. And I think management in baseball will start to recognize that over the next couple of years. I pay an old superstar a lot of money.
Right.
Put him on a 1 or 2 year contract. If he produces, then you re-sign him.
Yes.
But don't go out and sign somebody for 10, 12, 13 years hoping that he'll have something in the tank.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason why you have farm systems in baseball. Your developmental league, Charlton, is constantly sending you bustling superstars, and people have not been aware of it.
Yeah, that's true. Tonight's Major League Baseball schedule, I mean, it's back in full swing, especially for this July 12th coming up. I'm so excited just seeing that we're seeing so many teams that are competing, and we talk about NBA sometimes, our team's tanking. We hear that in NFL football, our team's tanking. Baseball, everybody's swinging the bat. Tonight, Washington at Philadelphia, Toronto's at the New York Yankees, Tampa Bay at Baltimore, the LA Dodgers at the Boston. Woo, they want to get revenge over the Red Sox, Big C. Will the beatdown from the World Series have any effect? It seems like it might be LA's turn this year. Your thoughts?
Well, Boston is a team that's really struggling, but, with LA, they might ignite a fire. Boston has to get on a run if they want to get in and penetrate.
Yeah.
They know LA really well, Charles, especially after that World Series where they dominated. Sometimes you just need to bring in somebody that you really dislike and want to laugh at to get you kick-started.
You got to do
now,
that.
If Boston goes out and beats LA in this series, Charlton, who knows? They may go on a 20-for-23 run and be right back in the thick of the pennant race.
Yeah, right back in the thick of the race. And you have Maeda and Rodriguez on the mound. Minnesota at Cleveland. New York Mets at Miami. Houston at Texas. San Francisco's at Milwaukee. Atlanta. Actually, Arizona's at St. Louis. Detroit is at Kansas City. Cincinnati at Colorado. Seattle at Los Angeles. Anaheim, the Angels. And Chicago White Sox at the Oakland A's. Atlanta at San Diego. And it's just amazing that baseball is such a great game. Makeup game is Pittsburgh at Chicago. I know people talk about who are the best teams so far this year in Major League Baseball, and especially when you look after the All-Star break. Even if we look at the Power 5 in Major League Baseball, you have the Yankees and Dodgers right there, 1 and 2. I would hope if there's any justice, and we talk about being prescient, if there's any justice in the baseball universe, you'll see a Dodger and Yankee World Series. That's if the stars align. The Twins, the Astros, the Braves, I would say the Raves, and if we finish in the top 10, the Cubs are coming on strong. The Rangers, and the Red Sox, they're struggle. But I'm thinking about it's going to take something to ignite teams, and it happens after the All-Star break. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, you talk about those teams. You can't count Minnesota out.
Yeah.
The way they're hitting the ball, Charlton, and on that home run record pace, that's what the Fall Classic is about, Charlton, being able to have that one big hit that will either tie the game or put you in the lead. And that's an intimidating force to your opposing team.
Yeah.
And Minnesota's packed that all year long. But there's so many teams, Charlton, it's about staying healthy in the second half of the season.
Yep.
It's about making the right trade pickup. But health is going to be the key factor, Charlton, in who gets into the pennant race and the World Series.
Yeah, and I just appreciate this is an abbreviated show for Big C Sports on vacation, coming to you from beautiful Southern California. Again, over the weekend, we'll see Federer, we'll see Djokovic playing to decide who can actually hit the tennis ball better. Doesn't matter who wins that one; it's still going to be amazing. And then seeing Williams and Halep, I'm rooting for the 37-year-olds this weekend. Big C is just part of life. I want to say you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Speaker. You can follow Big C Sports on YouTube. If you have a television at home, you can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast. But I really love the app. If you have Alexa, say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I'll introduce Big C, and he'll do his thing. So really thank our sponsors for all of their support. I know it wouldn't be fair if we ended the show without just thanking Curt Flood, because I want to be conscientious about it. Because too many African Americans have been maybe used, taken advantage of, marginalized, and sometimes just taken for granted. But when you hear about guys making money, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, I think about Curt Flood. Curt Flood wasn't a big man. He was about 5'9". He didn't have this major background that people knew about him in college as some All-American. He was a man that just had character, Big C. Sometimes in a court of law, they say the dirt comes out in the wash. And the more time you get to talk to someone, you realize who's sincere and who's not. And I love that Curt Flood, he was prescient enough to visualize the future of what would happen with this free agency. And before we touch on football, I just want to get your thoughts on, it's important when people start talking about some guy making $100 million, $200 million. Curt Flood's name needs to be mentioned, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it needs to be mentioned that it should be a monument in every athletic Hall of Fame to Curt Flood for what he has done for this sport, not just for minorities, but for all
Everybody.
athletes, in all walks of sport. He created opportunity for you to be charged. That's what Adam Silver was complaining about.
Yeah.
That these athletes are now in charge. They're making demands on where they want to be, and they get it facilitated to them, Charlton.
Yep.
So he empowers the professional athlete, Charlton, to be what he is. And as well as he's empowering state legislators for athletes to make money off of their likeness.
Yeah, it's so important. And I just want to say I appreciate it. One more thing I want to touch on, because it's real talk, being in Southern California, I met an African-American woman today, just saying hello to people like people normally do, and she looked like she could be on Essence or Ebony magazine. And we started talking about the Crown Act, because it's ironic how we talk about things like you say being prescient, you talk about things that happen. Well, this good-looking African-American woman started talking about how her job was telling her they did not like her hairstyle. They didn't like her hairstyle. And they wanted to have her do something that would be more mainstream, like Caucasian woman. And she's a smart lady, and she was asking about, and I don't know if she follows Big C Sports because I didn't ask her. But she brought up the fact, so if you want people to have a natural hairstyle, and a lot of people in LA, they bleach their hair. You can tell because the root's not the same color as the end. And I never heard someone speak so eloquently that way. And she's actually challenging her employer that she has to de-Africanize her look to look more European. And I want to say that the Crown Act has already been written up and overruled by Gavin Newsom in California. It's amazing how we talk about things and they happen. Big C, I just want to get your thoughts on how egregious that is to tell women of color, and all life came from Africa, but to tell black women if they don't look like white women, they might lose their jobs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's just another stage of gerrymandering, Charlton, when you look at it. Minority women and people have always had to fight for equality in this country. And every time that they come up to a level of equality, there's always some egregious act to try to knock them back down.
Yeah.
Something that you try to take away from them.
Yeah.
And when you try to take away somebody's culture, that's not allowing equality in a country.
I agree.
It's a saying that we don't appreciate your culture, we don't respect your culture.
Yeah.
Whether it's religious, whether it's creed, whether it's look, Charlton, that's just pure, straight out racism.
Yeah, and you got to shut it down. And I'm proud that a black woman shouted it down. So, Megan Raponi, I hope that you'll just keep who you are. I hope you'll do a picture with Colin Kaepernick and let more people who are Caucasian and afraid to speak the truth learn the truth so we can end this bigotry. We got to do that. Last thing I'll say, NFL football. The Chargers, the LA Chargers running back Melvin Gordon, he wants a new contract, and he's going to hold out until the demands are made or a new contract are being traded. Trade me. Again, Curt Flood, I think about Curt Flood because many moons ago, he gave men of all colors the yellow brick road to follow in order to get your money. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, I'd be leery about the yellow brick road walking on that, y'all. You like walking on yellow snow. Gotta be a little cautious about that.
Yeah, that's
but, when I look at Melvin Gordon, I mean, the NFL is already slated that running backs are dispensable.
Yeah.
That they don't care about them as a commodity. They keep for a couple years, burn them out, bring in a new one.
Yeah, new one.
And so in Melvin Gordon's case, Charlton, this is a guy that can take it the distance anytime he touches the football.
Yeah.
What the Chargers really need to look at is that Phillip Rivers is 37 years old.
Yeah.
You got an all-pro running back to help offset him, as well as those outstanding wide receivers that you have.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates is ancient also. So you need a running back to help out Phillip Rivers. You might as well pay Melvin Gordon for the short term because Phillip Rivers is not going to be there longer, Charlton. I mean, give him 3-year contract, whatever type of money you got to give him. At that point, if you want to release him, Charlton, but he needs to be paid. He needs to be there to help protect Phillip Rivers. If Phillip Rivers is your franchise quarterback, then you need a franchise running back to go along with him. We know that the average age of an NFL career is 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. So Melvin Gordon has been around 3 years already, Charlton. So he's already lived the life of an NFL running back. So give him a 3-year extension. Get him to that point of Phillip Rivers' retirement and let it go with the best offense that you have right now, one of the top 5 offenses in the NFL.
Last thing I'll say today before we close out, Dak Prescott, he's the second winningest active quarterback in the NFL. You can Google it in the last 3 years, only behind Tom Brady. we've heard of people making big money, record-breaking deals for players that have never won a Super Bowl, never made a playoff game. Why is he not signed yet, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, everybody's saying that Zach needs to give a hometown discount. Nobody's going to Kirk Cousins, your family member, saying get a Vikings a hometown discount. Matthew Stafford, get a hometown discount if you've never won a playoff game, in Detroit in your career.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo, they didn't say, hey, you missed the season, give us some money back.
Yeah.
Up and down the ledger, Charlton, the only quarterbacks that have talked about in giving a discount have been African-American quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Look at the vitriol that Russell Wilson went through out in Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, he's putting demands on the team. He's forcing the team to pay him money.
Yeah.
No, he didn't force them. They decided to pay him, Charlton.
Right.
Just like any other quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has been hurt ever since. The last couple of years, he's got this big contract. He hasn't produced.
Yep.
He gets no backlash. They fired a coach. It was the coach's fault that Aaron couldn't complete the passes.
Right.
So when it comes to African-American quarterbacks and them not getting paid, think about the ones that are up on the list. You got Deshaun Watson's going to be due for a contract.
Yeah.
People are saying, well, we don't know if we want to pay Jameis Winston down in Tampa, that he might be a career backup.
Right.
There's an excuse when it comes to the minority quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yep.
Zach Prescott, everybody will say, well, Carson Wentz has a Super Bowl ring. Yes, he does.
He didn't earn it.
So does Sutton, the other quarterback on the team.
Yeah.
He has a Super Bowl ring. Neither one of them threw a pass in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
But, there's excuses made for white quarterbacks to get paid.
Yep.
Well, he's a franchise player. A franchise player, and I think people need to look at Wikipedia when they talk about a franchise player.
Yeah.
He's a player who makes the franchise better.
Yeah.
Without him, the franchise would be a perennial loser. So when you have a quarterback that you call a franchise quarterback,
yes,
and you don't make the playoffs, you have what's called a perennial loser.
Yeah.
Not a franchise quarterback, a perennial loser. So I think all the media who covers the NFL and start talking about putting these franchise quarterbacks out there. No, say we have a perennial loser who's getting paid like a franchise quarterback.
Get the money. Show me the money, the great Jerry Maguire, played by the great Lee Steinberg. It's all fair and level war, whether it's across the pond, whether it's in a Major League Baseball stadium, whether it's someone thinking about the NBA, who's going to make the next move, or if it's NFL, we know the season starts off in August coming up. Really looking forward to that. There's a sign called Live, Love, and Never Stop Dreaming. And I saw that in LA this weekend, and it just makes you realize, get busy living, or don't. I choose to keep living. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, the favorite dish over at Wimbledon this weekend has been strawberries and cream.
Yep.
I don't mind putting a little bit of that on my belly or in my belly.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sit back, Charlton, on Saturday and Sunday, and I have two epic tennis matches going on.
Yes.
I'm rooting for the old folks, just like me. This is the Senior Citizen Wimbledon Championship.
Yes.
I'm rooting for, the old people to win this weekend and give life to all of us.
Yeah, we're rooting for everybody, and it's all fair love and war. I've always heard you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.